All right, glad to have you back, and on to the next discussion. Smuggling has been described as a serious threat to the growth of Nigeria's economy.
Yeah, now the federal government says the country loses $5 billion to smuggling annually. Now, smuggling is a huge business in Nigeria. Rice, poultry, textiles and cars are smuggled into the country daily, and the effect on the economy is devastating.
Even toothpicks at one point. According to the Senate Committee on Customs, Excise and Tariff, the country loses about 1.5 trillion naira annually to the activities of smugglers through the semi-border. A further breakdown by the committee shows that 4.5 trillion naira worth of goods are smuggled into the country annually as well.
Yeah.
The federal government has made different moves and initiated different policies to tackle smuggling, but the problem persists.
Now, most of the goods are smuggled through neighboring countries with very low tax duty compared to Nigeria, who has continuously increased hars to discourage importation. Now, while rice importation has reduced a bit in Nigeria and local production increased in Republic of Benin, the story is different. Now, over there, rice importation has increased to 1.33 million tons, despite the fact that they do not consume parboiled rice, an indication that the goods are headed for Nigeria.
Not consuming what you're producing, but it's good enough for exportation.
That's
anyway,
it.
yeah,
That's
we
it.
have a publisher and public affairs analyst, Oluseyi Adeyemo, with us in the studio. Good morning to you and compliments of the season.
Same to you. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good
Nice
to see you guys.
It seems smuggling is the #1 problem and threat to the Nigerian economic growth. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, #1, that much I'm not sure, but beyond economic threats, smuggling is definitely hazardous to any country's health, security-wise, economic-wise, and in other areas. So smuggling is something that we need to deal with as a national problem.
Now, we've discussed smuggling. Smuggling has been with us for a long time. Well, we brought analysts, even immigration officers have said, well, the Nigerian borders are so porous, and we can't man all the loopholes and all the entries and exits of the country. But what can really be done? Is Nigeria really helpless when it comes to tackling this issue, when we know that it's like a leaking basket?
I think we need to look at this globally. And let's just look at the history of smuggling generally. Now, in school, if you remember, anytime it is said that certain products, particularly those who go for boarding, is not allowed in school, the thing is everybody will find a way of bringing that product into school. That's smuggling. Now, whenever you bring anything that is not brought in legally into a space, you've brought in that thing, you've smuggled that thing into that space. Now, the truth of the matter is, as long as there is a demand for a product in a place and you're not supplying that product in that place, it becomes a very good business for anyone to bring in that product into that space. Now, so the question we need to start asking ourselves is, what is those things, or what are those things that Nigerians want or need that we are not producing here? Can we start to produce those things here? If we cannot produce those things here, can we adopt policies like an open market that would cater for some of these things? Because
but would you say that it's only products that are not produced in the country that are being smuggled? Embarrassingly, if I should say that, we heard earlier this year, or even late last year, that palm oil is even smuggled into the country. The Nigerians are even importing palm oil, and we know that the southern part of the country is a producer of that in excess commodity. So we hear that they even imported a toothpick at one point into the country, meaning that it might not be that these things are not available, or would you think or say that
maybe it's just mischief, economic mischief,
luxurious taste buds of Nigerians for something more sophisticated kind of.
So we're still talking about
packaged
demand and supply. Whether those things are in the level of quantity that will satisfy us here, or the quality or the desire to consume things. Look, what I'm saying is, let us address the problem at its root, or else we'll keep hovering around this forever like you said, you've brought in people here. They've talked about this over and over and over again. The problem in my mind, for instance, there's what they call the common external tariff right now that the ECOWAS Commission have brought up, and that is supposed to ensure that whatever comes into any of the ECOWAS state countries is sort of in the common area. Now, that in my mind is a very smart move. That was agreed on in 2006. Now what that does essentially is the moment the thing comes into any of the ECOWAS state, then in other words is landed in the customs area. So you don't really have to start, because truth is, when you talk about the fact that the borders are porous, they're porous. Even if you have all the customs officers in Nigeria, you know, manning all the border area, they cannot sufficiently effectively man these areas. So that's not the way to go. So the question is, what is Dubai doing? Why are they having an open market such that it is easy to go in and out, and at the end of the day, some of the goods that are not competitive enough will naturally find their ways in? I've always asked myself, why can't Nigeria consider such a policy? Why? Because the truth is, it is working for Dubai. Dubai is definitely succeeding in that area. Now, so if you keep putting restrictions, if you keep putting bottlenecks and making it difficult, then it becomes attractive. You know, let's cast our mind back to when all of a sudden every other young Nigerian wanted to taste cocaine. It was because there was a sordid clamor for it. A lot of arrests were made, and before you know it, every other person decided that that thing that they arrested people for, I want to have it. So that is the human thing. So you need to go to the root of the matter, address it at the root of the matter, and the thing is, it's about demand and supply.
So in this case, are you advocating that the law should be relaxed a little when it comes to restrictions against smuggling?
Globally, it's about trade facilitation now. What trade facilitation really means is, look, these guys are actually trading. They want to bring these things in to sell. Now, as long as your people need those things, you know, this thing about, oh, they want to protect infant industry and all that. And I ask myself, so where is the industry in Nigeria right now? I don't know what industry they're trying to protect. Now, because if you really are into a business, you say to yourself, all right, since we need this and we're not ready to start to produce this sufficiently enough, truth is, rice would over time become very, very unattractive, because like you have Nikkei, Leke rice, you have Ogun State coming up with rice, you have Abakaliki coming up. Over time, it will become unattractive, because it has been proven over time that even our rice is better nutritiously, taste-wise, when compared to those rice. So the reason why people still eat, because I know my people are not crazy people, Nigerians are not crazy. The reason why they're still eating is because those ones that will produce here is not catering, you know, enough to the demand. So as long as there's that demand, that small gap will still be catered for by bringing them in. So why prohibit them? I mean, because I still continue to want, why?
There is something, of course, we know in economics there is need and then there is want.
Yes.
Human wants are limited and they are insatiable. You can't satisfy all of them.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it behoves on of the government of any country to regulate.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say. That, okay, you want this, but you might not even need it, or it might not even be good for you. We heard in the past, especially last year during the Yuletide season, of plastic rice or injected poultry being imported into the country, and there was panic.
Yeah.
So won't you say that it's not because people want it, and then because of that, the government should open up the market and the borders for just anything to
what
come
you've
into the
just
country?
explained is something that comes out of the way you manage. It's a function of, look, I like to bring this home. Now, you have a provision for your family. The reason why they would go out and start to look at alternatives, and in most cases get into trouble bringing this kind of plastic rice and all that, is because of the way you're regulating the way things come into the house. Okay. So if you know that they would eat rice, the average Nigerian would eat rice. That is being proven over years. I mean, look, why do we dance around something that we all know that we eat? Every average Nigerian eats rice. So if that is sort of a stable food in Nigeria, then if I were in government, I would make it a national policy to find a way of making sure that that stable food is on the table of every Nigerian. Because if you leave it like they've continued to leave it, it will find its way here. Like you said, the Republic of Benin people hardly eat rice. The kind of rice they eat is not the kind of rice.
Not the kind of rice we,
so
we
look,
we
if I
here.
know that they will eat rice, I don't need to bother myself to bring it to Nigeria. I'll drop it in Benin and look, you know, the other way.
Exactly. That's what
it would happen. So when we know it will happen, so what do? Make sure that when they drop their own rice, you drop your own rice here. They will not bring it through here. They will not bring it through there again, so there will be no need for smuggling. The reason why it is smuggled is because we need it and we don't have it here. So you left it there, so people go and bring it here because it is attractive. You get more money. When you go through, you know, that risk and bringing it through the bush and all that, of course you will sell it at a premium, and so it's attractive.
So government is even losing money
at the end of the day. So I mean, look, in Ghana at some point when they decided they were going to, you know, sort of stop the importation or smuggling of used cars, what they did was to make sure that the cost of new cars was almost at par with the old ones. So naturally, it would become a stupid thing to do to go and import or smuggle a used car when you know you can get almost at the same cost. So it's as simple as that. Look, I keep saying the guys in Dubai are not stupid people. If it is easy for me to do a business in an area and I know that I will get profit and you're very faithful with your regulations, because some of the problems we really have and we need to address is policy somersault that we have in Nigeria. Investors don't trust us. When they come into this space and we're told them that these are the policies, in the middle of the road, you change your policy. So that is why people will not come and invest there, but they need to sell. They have produced it, so they'll find a way of bringing it through the bush. So if you know that you want those things, then bring them here. They will come here because look, they want to produce. They produce elsewhere. They produce in China. They produce in Dubai. They produce in other places. So why don't you create an enabling environment for these people to come and go and woo them, since you know your people will eventually consume those things. So why deceive yourself that they will not consume it when you know they will consume it? Then you create the window. In my own opinion, Nigeria is creating an environment for smuggling. And as long as we don't create an environment for proper business, people will keep smuggling. It's as simple as that.
Now, so in this case, is when we wait for the right policies or the right tactic or strategy and we're not getting it right, is it a product of inefficiency, government not knowing how to, or it is the issue of sabotage?
Government not knowing how to. Okay. Look, you see, when you allow people to come up with ideas, like I said, the worst place to allow policy or strategy is in the middle of the chain. You create policy from the top of the ladder. In other words, this is the way we want to go about these things. The moment you're able to dictate the pace, things will run in a normal way. But the moment you allow your children in the house to say, okay, I think the way to go about this is this, then you start dealing with the issues of not telling them that this is the way to do things. This is what you see in smuggling, because at the end of the day, those things, as long as people have a need for even toothpick, if they have a need for it and you're not producing it sufficiently enough, they will go and look for toothpick. The question is, you say want and need. Okay, all right, if I want something and you feel is not a need, I'm a human being, I'm an adult. As long as I want that thing and you don't, the man that just left to talk about, you know, making sure that we're properly oriented in the things we go. The average Nigerian believes that an imported good is the best thing. So have we worked on that? Because you see, you can't just wish that away. You know the funny thing, sometimes we go out to buy made in Nigeria outside of Nigeria. It is something that we know we have as a problem. What have we done as a nation to deal with that? Because if we don't deal with that, Nigerians will still go and smuggle Nigerian goods back into Nigeria. Because the problem is the guy who produced it here knows that you're not going to buy it if he tells you that it was produced here. So he will take it out, then you go and buy it from there and bring it. And if government says you cannot bring it in, then you smuggle it in. Because as long as people have a need for those things, they will always end up here.
Okay, we've been talking about maybe food materials which are somehow not harmless, but then bring it to the fore again, the smuggling of arms and ammunition into the country. Some were discovered by customs some times back, but then the fear that many would have been smuggled successfully into the country, we still don't know where they are. So smuggling really isn't just about what you want as a citizen or what you need as a citizen, but about somehow the security, the survival of the country. So one would wonder really, what should the government should be doing at this time? Should it be about making money? Because we just heard that in fact, the customs made more than expected, their target for the year. Recently, I can't remember the figure now, put out. But then, should it be about the money you make, about securing the borders, about doing the right thing to secure the existence of the country called Nigeria?
About $1 trillion there.
Fantastic. Now, if you recall what I started with, I talked about the fact that it's also bordering on national security. And that's very clear. Because as long as you allow that kind of trade, all sort of people will go into it. Some people will go into it not just to now cater for what people want, to take advantage of the fact that there is a trade or an activity that is going on. Then the guys who are the evil guys would take advantage of it at that time. So what you need to do to, first of all, is to make sure that the guys who are manning your borders, the custom officers, the immigrations, and all of those people who are manning your borders, first of all, are made to understand the essence of some of these things. Now, do you know the problem with Nigeria? Some of the border areas are so porous that it takes 5 or more hours to drive from that place that we call our borderline to their borderline. So in other words, there is a no man's land.
Yeah, in between
5
somewhere.
hours no man's land that is not motorable. So as long as you have a desire to come hurt Nigerians, you would always find a way. Don't let's kid ourselves to go through those no man's, areas. So what am I trying to bring out from there? I'm saying that then our custom officers are doing a yeoman's job. So if they are doing a yeoman's job, then we need to take special cognizance of the duty they do, and in my opinion, give them special salary, give them special incentives, and let them understand that we're not even talking about food here. We're not talking about what we need or what we don't need. We're talking about the security of Nigerians. Nigerians are not wicked people. Please don't let's always forget that that custom officer is a Nigerian. That immigration man is also Nigerian. Now, the idea is if you really, like we had with the banking sector, where we had some banks where you would want to go to bank and you want to go and sleep. Now we have banks that you can even do on your phones. So it is possible, as long as we're deliberate and we're determined to get these things right. I'm talking about from presidency right now. You would, look, right now all over the world, you don't have human interface again. Most of this manning are done on computer. In other words, you would have eliminated a whole lot of things, which we have here. That's what they call single window. The problem is how much have you activated the single window such that you can share information across ECOWAS. In other words, wherever the thing is coming from in Nigeria, you ought to know. What are they doing in ECOWAS? I don't understand. Because you see, if you're really talking about customs, you don't talk about customs at your borders alone, because you don't even have a border. Your border is porous and linked to the border of Republic of Benin. Your border is porous and linked to the border of Niger. Your border is to all of those that are surrounding you. In other words, if you really, really want to control your border, then you're controlling the ECOWAS border. If there's a need, control those ones that are leaded to it. So you are making sure that at heads of states level, you are able to determine and say, if something comes in at ECOWAS, you're able to determine. It's easy, it's computer. They would upload it on your own portal, and you're able to say, okay, this is likely to get here. That's what they do with all of this, some of these things that they get here. Some of these arms that you say were arrested were actually followed from some of the countries. When they left one country to the other, they will follow it until they get here and they will arrest it here. It was a collaboration of what they call the global Interpol. You can also have it in Africa as well. Our heads of states are lazy. They should stand up and work harder. If we really, really want to police our border, it is the duty of government to understand that you cannot start to police your border just at your own border because your border is porous. We agree.
Exactly.
There's nothing we can do about that. They would, look, like I said, if I need to do Nigeria a harm, I don't need to come here. Why will I waste my time to come here? I will put it in Benin. I know you will get here. So if I now work with Benin and there's the surety that, the Benin people, Benin, and say, oh, all right, there's that agreement, there's that belief in ourselves, we share notes, we share info, we share all of these things, then from that point, you would have policed it even before it gets into your territorial area.
Wow. All right. Now, you talked about Africa, the ECOWAS region, certainly. We know that from the trade agreement, there is free trade, there is free movement, there is free, just like you said. So if something drops, for instance, like, good example, Morocco is wanting to be a member of the ECOWAS now and all of that. So if they are admitted, and then Moroccan trade finds itself maybe in Liberia, and one way or the other, we are here in Nigeria, like you said, if those products, although meant for Liberia, find themselves in Nigeria, but due to the free movement and free trade, would it even be called smuggling in the first place?
No, that's the point. It ought not to be called smuggling because the moment it gets there, it's one customs. So whatever tariff rates, whatever tariff regime you have here will apply across the board. So then it becomes unattractive. Why smuggle when it is not a smuggled good? Because look, that good today that is legal, that is under legal regime, tomorrow can become an illegal product, and then before you bring it in, you will have to smuggle it. So it is, it behoves on government to be able to determine those things that you will say, all right, why put this thing under this regime so that you put yourself under a lot of problem.
All right.
Well, we have to leave you here now. Oluwaseyi Adeyemo, publisher and analyst. Thank you so much for giving us insight into all of this.
So much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.